Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Ellasin. And I am Ellasin, and I have my other whole with me, Eric. Yay! Hey, my honey's here with me. Amen. So listen. Real Talk with Ellasin has taken over marriages for the month of July. And today we have two special people on with us, right? Mm-hmm. So here on Real Talk, we talk about real issues that impact the church and the community as a whole, and we keep it down to earth because we need some real talk. Mm-hmm. And here joining us in being real is my flamingo brother and his turtle sister, Glenn and Sheri Brooks of M.A.P.S community.
Hey guys, it's great to be here with you all.
What's happening?
Yes,
how y'all feeling?
Already. What's going on, family?
Good. We good. How y'all feeling?
Good. We're doing good. We're doing good. We're doing good. We are so happy to have you guys join us. I remember when we was on Breakfast with the Bros.
Yeah, how about that? That's been a minute.
This is full circle. Now we on your show.
Yeah, we on y'all show. How about that?
Yeah, and we appreciate you guys as well. Listen, we're going to jump right in because we have much to say and we are so excited about having you guys. So tell us just a little bit of your story, how you met, and how did M.A.P.S get started?
Yeah.
Ooh, you want the dirt from the start. Okay.
The dirt. Come on now. We want the dirt.
I want the good dirt.
So we've been married 23 years in a row. Now we met happenstance. It wasn't we both were in a place when we were healing from previous relationships. I had been married twice before, and Glenn had been married once before. We were both in a season where we were doing the work on ourselves. So neither one of us was really looking for a relationship when we met. Actually, we met because Glenn had started a youth choir. He was the station manager for a radio station, and he started a youth choir. And our daughter, was the first person to audition. And so me being the ever involved parent, I was at every rehearsal, every meeting, everything. And I became the parent liaison, and we developed a friendship. We were actually friends for about a year before we actually started dating. And that whole transition was interesting in of itself because I had shared with him that someone else had asked me on a date. And he was like, hold up.
He's like, hold up. No, we're not doing that.
He was like, hold up. No, you can't go out with nobody else. I'm like, well, we just friends, though. He was like, no. We more than friends. I was like, well, what are we?
Glenn, oh, baby, you.
Right. And so that's how our relationship started. Good. Like I said, because we both had former marriages, we kind of cheated in a sense when we got married because we knew all the wrong things to do because we had both done them in all of our previous relationships.
Yeah, I think probably a better way to characterize that, or a different way to characterize that, is we had a cheat sheet. And I think that a lot of times, a lot of people, guys, when they go into marriages and relationships, the challenge is that you're going into some degree really blind and you don't have a reference point. And I think that when that happens, it really serves to set you up. And unfortunately, when you grown, can't nobody tell you nothing. So you kind of just gonna have to hit your head up against a brick wall a little bit just to be able to figure it out. But Sheri and I had done a lot of hitting our heads up against a wall prior to each other. And so we really figured it out. So yeah, we've been rolling 23 and a half years in a row. We'll be 24 in a row. And
I want to address two things here. We got to look in a half and 13 days and 25 seconds. So I want to address two things that you said. I like that you say in a row. I want y'all to touch on that. And I definitely want to talk on, we had a cheat sheet because we were married before, when society says the second marriage 9 out of 10 times won't work. So the years in a row and that cheat sheet.
Let me go first real quick, Sheri, just on this one thing. I think years in a row, meaning it's our ever reminder that we did this before and it was broken and it broke up on a regular basis. A lot of times when you grow up in cultures like we do, you know, people make up to break up, right? They on again, off again. And so for us, every time we get a chance to say, you know, however many years it is in a row, it sort of celebrates that time.
Right. And it's actually funny because for me, like I said, I had been married twice before, but in both of my previous marriages, I was apart from them probably longer than we were actually married. Because we would break up, separate. I know in my first marriage, we were probably separated 90% of the actual time we were married. And so for us, when we got married, it's like we had these little benchmarks. And for me, my first marriage only lasted, we were physically together 2 years. So it was like at 2 years, I'm like, okay, we made it 2 years. And then the next, it was like, okay, we made it 4 years. And then it's like every time we reached a benchmark. So when we reached, what was it, 12 years? When we reached 12 years, because he was married to his wife 12 years. When we got past 12 years, it was like, okay, all right, we're really doing this. We good.
Yes.
We really got this down now. And so, but that for us, because we had those broken relationships, those were markers for us for goals. So we set many goals in our marriage that if we can get past this point, if we can get to here, we can keep going. Because we made a promise to each other when we got married. It's till death do us part. Like he can't go nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. If he try to leave, I'm coming with him. So
right.
Where you going?
I like that. I like that. I like that. Listen, if you guys are tuning in, go ahead with your comments and questions. Right. So listen, I like that you said listen to how I'm gonna say it. Our past marriages were not our failures, but we looked at them as goals to get past. I feel like sometimes we look at what we've done in the past, our failed. You hear him say our failed relationships.
Right.
Man, that was powerful. I like that y'all use that like that, goals.
Yeah, I think that for us, those benchmarks serve to be, and we'll probably get into some of the things. We recognize that our relationship is powerful. And there is a power that's represented in how we show up. And quite frankly, when we say that, meaning there's something for us to do. This relationship isn't just about us. And I think that unfortunately, most people get into relationships because it's just about them. And unfortunately, I think that that's not a big enough reason to fight sometimes, because you can quit on each other easily. But somehow when you feel as though you're responsible for a greater group, if you will, a greater audience, if you will, it encourages you to continue to show up.
Yeah. It's not about you.
It ain't about you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It ain't about you.
It ain't about you. We make it about ourselves so much, though. You know, and I think in relationships we tend to be extremely selfish at times, because our propensity as humans is to look out for yourself. So putting your spouse first is something that a lot of us have to learn to do, because it's not in our nature really to put other people first. You know, we have to be taught the importance of putting other people before ourselves, because our natural instinct is to take care of home team.
Yeah.
You know, and then what ends up happening is the people that you're closest to, you end up treating them the worst sometimes.
Yeah.
100%.
If not careful. Yeah.
No, you hitting the nail on the head right there, bro, because I think I think culturally we have developed norms that don't serve us. And when I say that, meaning that when you talk about taking care of home, taking care of stuff, like I got to make sure I'm good, it develops a mindset that you don't see the other person. And so that cultural norm can see, first of all, we got to recognize that in and of ourselves, we're incredibly selfish beings. That's like legit, like you care about you, and that's a survival mode. Well, when you move from survival to surviving to thriving, what happens is that your mindset should shift. So what I did to survive is not the same things I need to do to thrive. So before meeting Sheri, I was in survival mode. It was just me. If I was single, I'm looking out for me. If I'm a single parent, I'm looking out for just us four and no more. And so that's a survival mindset. And I think unfortunately, when most people get married, they don't leave that survival mindset in the place of survival. So therefore they never get to thriving, and they bring a survival mindset into a relationship that doesn't need to survive. Y'all need to go to the next level.
Oh, I like that, because man, if I can just make it one more year, man, if I can, and then we're just coexisting because I'm in that survival mode. Wow, I think that's powerful. Survival don't have no room in marriages. We gotta thrive.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's about thriving. And I think also in marriage, we come into marriage focused on our happiness. I don't know where we get this idea that being married means you're going to be happy, that happiness comes with marriage. Marriage is not about being happy. It's about a union together with another person where you both work together to thrive in life, in everything that you do. It's not about happiness. There are going to be hills and valleys. Whenever you bring two people from two different backgrounds together, there's going to be some rubbing. There's going to be some iron sharpening iron. And so, yes, you want to have peace. You want to have joy in your relationship, but it's not about being happy. One of the sayings that people say all the time that rubs me the wrong way is that happy wife, happy life. That's bull. That is bull.
I'm about to jump out my skin.
I don't need him to make me happy. I don't want you. So it reminds me of, what is the Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America, when the lady's jumping down, whatever you like. I don't want my husband doing whatever you like. Whatever you like. Whatever. I don't need that. I don't need that. But society has told us that that's what a marriage is supposed to be, and men are supposed to be these little puppets that run around and please us. And it's like, that's not what a marriage is.
Sheri, speak to that. Y'all know I'm about to jump out my seat. Listen. My clients be looking at me straight crazy. The women are ready to walk out the minute I say, no, honey, it ain't about you. It's no such thing as happy wife, happy life. We got to be in this 100.
Right. Yeah, it's about the union.
Yes.
You know, I've been guilty of saying that happy wife, happy life. But you know what? From a man's perspective, that's a cop-out. Because if I just let her do what she wants, I don't really have to address any issues. I don't have to change things. I just let her do what she do. And it keeps me from feeling obligated to make any changes. But then you don't grow. You don't grow at all. You don't ever address anything. And then in the end, it begins to show its ugly head when you start blowing up.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Right.
That's good. I want to address that question that Jaquita had. And it said, what tools must be used to eliminate the phase, I have to make sure I'm good? So, man, I have to make sure I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would technically, and this is me, would eliminate this. And I definitely want to hear y'all opinion, because I do have to take care of me. Right?
Yeah.
Because my happiness matters. So I take care of me so I can take care of we. But I'm not taking care of me just for selfishness. So jump on that.
That's good.
Right. And so if I can just challenge your language a little bit, Ellasin. So instead of saying my happiness, my health, my mental, physical, and spiritual health has to be in order first before I can do anything for anybody else. So I have to take care of myself as an individual. I do have to get my personal time. I do have to get, have my self-care. I have to make sure that I'm good spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm responsible for my own emotions.
Yes.
So I have to make sure that I'm taking care of me first, because if I'm not healthy, I can't love on anybody else because I haven't learned to love myself.
Yes.
Let me jump in, and I can handle this from another angle. I think, and if you could repost Jaquita's question, I just want to make sure I'm clear, because I think that again, this comes from cultural norms, right? So when we grow up having to survive, there was no one to take care of us. Let's just be dead real. Many of us grew up in dysfunctional homes that, whether the parents were present or not, oftentimes they were never taught how to be there for us. No one taught them that, right? And the rare cases that we got it was because somebody sat down and gave them the tools and the strategies on how to show up, not only for themselves, but for their children. So when you grow up in a situation where you have to fend for yourself, where you have to take care of yourself, you have to work if you're going to have it and all that sort of stuff, it builds in you a construct of taking of me first. So that's when I talk about the survival part. In order for you to move from survival to thriving, you have to begin to remove the me and begin to look at the we. Now, that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I know that Sheri and I have worked on is that we started out in the very beginning telling each other where we were going. And so it's almost like having a vision for our marriage.
That's right.
And it was really very simple. Our vision was we wanted to grow old together. That was it. When I say grow, we are going to do the work, the inner work, the heart work so that we could do the hard work.
Yeah.
Number one.
Wow, I like that.
When we say grow old, we're gonna be here until death do us part. That's old. Old is you waking up together and y'all looking at each other and don't nobody feel like moving because everybody hurting and we ain't did nothing.
Baby, get my tea.
Old is you talking smack about how you gonna hit that, and then you look up and realize you done fell asleep.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Love
Like
it.
so when you grow old together, that looks like something. And then that last word, together, means we're going to do life together. So for us, it became implementing tools and strategies that caused us to gravitate toward one another as opposed to apart from each other. Because the truth is that when that happens, it causes us to slip back into that selfish mode.
Right. So let me jump on that goal thing, right? Because, you know, one of the things you guys talk about is communication is not the only key, right? So in communication, not the only key. I want you guys to address that and how important that is towards us meeting our goal, right? Mm-hmm. But how important is it for us to have a goal? Because if we in a relationship and we know we don't want it like this, but we haven't set a goal, how are we getting where we going, and how important are those keys, Glenn and Sheri?
That's a good one. I think first we have to look at what is our idea of marriage, because many of us did not grow up in an environment where we saw healthy marriages.
Yes.
And so we formed these fantasies of what marriage is supposed to be. I know for myself, I didn't grow up around, my parents were married. They're still married today, but they did not have a loving, healthy relationship. And so, and I never saw that before. And so for me, I remember when the Huxtables came on TV, for me, that was like the dream.
That was my
like, that's what I want. That's what I wanted. But as I grew older and as I got married, I realized that's not really real.
No.
That's cute, but it's not real. And so I had to define for myself, what is it that I want in marriage? And for me, I wanted that everlasting love and commitment with a person. I wanted a friend for life. I wanted, I had to determine what were those things that I wanted. And then once I determined this is what I want, and we had the conversation and we both agreed this is what we wanted, we had to look at, so how are we going to get there? And so for us, for one, it took us looking inward at each other. And like I said, even we said before, like, because we had been married before, and this can be even, you don't have to be married before, but most people have had a previous relationship before of some sort.
Right.
If you look back at your previous relationships and look at yourself and see what were the areas that you needed to change or you needed to grow in, if you just work on those areas, you're going to grow as an individual, and that's going to help you in your next relationship. Yeah, and so for me personally, I was not a communicator. I didn't talk. I would bar down on people. I would boss people around. But I didn't communicate. I wasn't talking about my feelings.
I wasn't.
Yeah, that wasn't communicating. And Eric, I'm ashamed to say, I used to castrate men with my mouth.
Man.
I'm sorry.
We called that dragon tongue. You know what I'm saying?
We got Glenn and Sheri Brooks of the M.A.P.S community. And we going there, y'all.
I take their manhood. I took their manhood from them.
Listen.
I wasn't very nice. I just wasn't very nice. But the blessing in that is that I was able to recognize. Now, I didn't recognize it in time, but also I believe God, everything happens in season for a reason. Because I wouldn't be here with this lovely man if I had. Right. But I, once those relationships were over, I took a hard look at myself. I was like, what did I do wrong? Now, it wasn't 100% me, but I definitely played my part. And I was able to look at what were the things that I had made mistakes in, the areas that I needed to grow in. And I started working on that before I even got in a relationship. So when we got together, I was already starting to learn how to communicate, why that was important, how to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing you said that was good.
One thing I want to go back to something you asked, Ellasin, and you talked about communication, not the only key. I'd like to rephrase that just for the sake of the audience so that y'all can understand. Many times y'all hear the word communication is key. If you take that as an isolated statement, number one, that's true. The challenge is when you don't know how to communicate, then you don't have the key.
Come on now.
So we say things like, and this is where I go back to cultural norms. Our culture has jacked us up.
Man.
You'll hear people say, put God first. That actually looks like something.
Yeah. Yep.
And so when we flippantly, I say, share these words and do this, I had to recognize communication is actually a skill set.
Yeah.
It's not mere talking and listening. It's the
skill set to
idea.
be developed.
It has to be developed. And the skill set of communication is developed in your ability to connect.
Yes.
The dopest communicators on the planet have an extraordinary ability to connect to their audiences.
Yes.
They have the ability to look down through a lens right now and speak to your situation and have you say, oh my God, I think he's in the room. My concern is that we can do that when we are performers, but we can't do that in our relationship. So what does it look like for me to create and develop a skill set where it causes me to see, feel, and hear my wife in the way that we connect? That's communication. I know how to speak to my wife without talking to her.
Yes. Come on, Glenn.
I know how to be able to.
Let me see it.
You understand? You're so silly. Listen, and I had to learn that. That's not just a Mac statement. Like you know, I mean, shoot, a pimp can say, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? I got these wrapped around. No, it ain't that. It ain't that.
It ain't that.
It ain't that. It is understanding her heart. Studying her like she was a test that I needed to take.
Yes.
And being able to track her and her movements.
Yes.
And so what that does is it means I've learned how to pay attention. And that is, so anybody who knows me knows that my temperament is not one of patience, of one that will slow down and listens easily. And the truth of the matter is that stuff goes right over my head because I'm moving too fast. So I had to develop that. So when we talk about that, you know, we had to do that inner work, and that actually looked like something. That's some of the stuff that we teach people in our relationship academy.
Yeah. And I think that is so important that you said that, because that's how you see your partner. You know, you see them from the inside out. You study them like it's a game plan. Like this is my plan. This is my goal for life. I need to study you. I need to see you for who you are so that I know how we can continue to cultivate this and thrive.
That's good.
I think that is really, really, really important. And you guys are talking good on tonight, and I appreciate it. And you have brought up your community, which is M.A.P.S, right? Tell us how that started and a little bit about that. Because your motto is we all need some help.
100%.
Yes, we all need some help. And so M.A.P.S, it's an acronym. It stands for Marriages and Parenting Successfully. And we formed it officially in 2015. But this was a 2017. And so, but it was God had given me an idea years ago. I called it the village. And he had laid on my heart to create a community for couples, to create a community where people could come in a safe space and share the things they were going through, get support so that they didn't have to go through it on their own. And it primarily started when we were in, I was going to say stationed, when we were in Atlanta. We had planted a church. We're part of a church plant in Atlanta. And I found that I did not have a community there. I had left my support community in Maryland when we moved there, and I was longing for a community. I had my church community, but I didn't have my core community. And I realized that was something invaluable. And so God had given me the vision, and it sat on the shelf. And then when we moved here to Virginia, and we just started talking to people, we actually did a workshop that you guys came to.
Yes, we did.
That was one of our first, I think that was one of our first live workshops.
It was the first.
The first couples workshop that we did. And from there, you know, people just were like, hey, we want more of this. Where can we get it? And we were like, hey, well, y'all can join us in the Zoom room. And the community was birthed. And it's been going for 5.5, almost 6 years now. And we've been able to impact hundreds of couples over the years. We do help couples who are looking to get married, help them go through the whole premarital thing and determine if they are to get married. We've helped couples that have come from the brink of divorce to revive their marriages, and they're thriving today.
Right.
And it's been, it's our labor of love.
Yeah, no doubt. It's an online community, and it's a subscription-based community that people pay a monthly subscription. And here's what's funny. We just did a couples retreat this past January. And in the middle of a pandemic, we had 20 couples fly in from all over the country. And by the way, there are people in this community from all over the country.
Yes.
But when we jump in on an online community that's private, it would amaze you how we feel like family, how we feel like we've known each other. And it's because you're vetted when you come in there. It's not a community we take any and everybody. We're looking for a certain kind of person that has a certain mindset to do work. This is not the place you come in where you want to complain about what everybody else is doing. This is a community where we're coaches, we're not counselors, and they're different. And I can promise you, we're not, ain't nobody holding nobody's hands over here.
Singing Kumbaya.
I'm not asking what you think, all this, how do you feel? We're not doing it. We're going to give you strategy. As a coach, my job is to create a game plan based on where you are and where you want to go to. And then create a situation where through accountability, I can hold you your feet to the fire of you implementing what it says you want to do. And together we're going to win a game. We're going to win a championship. And we do that over and over. So these 20 couples came through and they pulled up. So we create live events all the time where we get a chance to meet each other face to face. But yeah, I'm so proud of that community. I don't know what to do because they get
how important is community in a marriage, y'all?
Everything.
So many of us grew up in the culture, what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Stays in my house. Yeah,
that's right.
That does not work. And so I'm going to just challenge anybody who subscribes to that. And I know some people, you have successful relationships, and I'm not saying that there are not people that don't have successful relationships. But you cannot do life on your own. Life was not life is not created for us to do it independently. We're supposed to do it interdependently. That means you're supposed to do it in community with other people. The primary reason for being in community is because you can't see yourself. You can't see your blind spots, and you need to give someone permission to see your blind spots and to speak to them if you want to grow. You can grow at a certain level on your own. But your growth will be exponential if you allow people in it that can speak to your blind spot, that can help you grow faster, more effective, and be more successful in your relationships. And so that was key. Like I said, for me personally, I knew I needed community. I grew up, I was a loner. I was the black sheep of the family, but it didn't get me far.
Right.
And I realized when I started being a community, I started being vulnerable, being transparent, sharing with people. And this is the other thing. You have to remember, everything you go through, good, bad, ugly, it's not for you. It's for somebody else. So if you hold on to it and don't share it, you never know who you're going to bless or who's in that situation. And community gives you an opportunity to be a blessing to somebody else, even while you're getting something.
If I could give a real practical example of what that looks like, most of us do relationships in silos.
Yeah.
We don't do relationships in gardens. A silo is designed to keep the light out. It's not a place where there's any irrigation. It is designed to store things. It was never designed to grow anything. So if you think about the agricultural community, silos store seed, it stores grain, it stores oats, it stores things that you're trying to keep over long periods of time. Well, the problem is in relationships, when you close yourself off to light, when you close yourself off to water and all the natural things that come with being outside and in the open, you close yourself off to growth. But if you take your relationship and you put it in the garden of a community of like-minded people who are all in here doing the same thing, we're all trying to grow and get to another level together. So there is no judgment because everybody is going through the same thing. And the way we curate our community is that we are not talking heads. The community gets the chance to add value to each other. So this is now you get a chance to peer in behind the closed doors of somebody's relationship. And you're like, yo, I am not the only one. I thought We was the only one tripping like
going
this.
through this.
Yeah.
And I think that
it sounds like what you're saying is you got to be humble too.
Yes.
Because if you're not humble to, I'm going through some things, and if you're not humble because you think you got it all going on and all together, how are we going to flourish or thrive? I like your word, in a relationship. It's, you have to be humble to say, I don't have this all figured out.
Yeah, and the great thing about that, and I am so super proud of the men that are in our community, because men typically don't, their wives drag them to stuff and they just come and they just sit there. But the men in our community, number one, we create a space that they feel safe. I tell the women from day one, I am not a husband basher. I'm going to be on the side of truth. I'm going to be on the side of right. I'm not sitting here. I'm not taking your side because you said your husband, this, that, and the other. No, we're going to deal with what the truth is and what the real issue is.
Come on now.
And that creates such a safe space for the men that they're willing to open up and talk.
Yes.
They're willing to be there. The husbands, sometimes the husbands show up and the wives aren't even in the room, in the group room. And we have separate rooms for the men and for the ladies separately. But when we do the couple session, these men are actually involved, and that is amazing, because especially in our community, men don't do that.
Right.
They're not going to talk about their relationship. They're not going to let their spouse, they're not going to let their wife talk about something that they did and they have a problem with in front of other people. But that takes true humility and a desire to want to change.
Yeah, I like that. I like the desire to want to change, because we can do lip service all day long.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons men don't like to do stuff like this is because for the majority of men, they're not as skilled. We're not as skilled at communicating verbally as women are. So I'm not going to get in a game I'm not good at playing. I just don't want to go there. Get me on the field, get me on the court, something I'm good at, so I can add value to the team. I can score points and I can feel like I'm doing something. If you want to drag me to something, I have to communicate out of my mouth how I feel, and I'm not good at even doing that.
Right.
I don't want to play that game, Right. And so the fact that you're able to create an atmosphere where men are comfortable in doing that, they feel like they add value to something. Yeah, and so men like to participate in things that they can build. Mm. They can work together to build something, and when they see it come to fruition, it keeps them engaged.
Yes, that's good.
That's why men will stay in a situation or stay in a group like that, because they see they have our ability to add value to it.
That's right. That's
right.
Good.
And I think we also create a healthy level of envy. So it's like a competition in a sense, because if somebody's doing good in their relationship, well, I can do that. Hold up. I can hold up. Let me step up to the table and look, this was what I did for my wife. And it becomes this whole thing where they, like you said, they're adding value, but it's pushing them to be better, because they're seeing, it's like I said, nobody is, number one, when couples come in, we never force them to talk. You can sit on the bench as long as you need to, feel comfortable, and you can just listen. We're not going to force you to say anything until you're ready.
Right.
But then when they do, usually it's because we'll do challenges a couple of times a year, like a love challenge, intimacy challenge. Yeah. So we make it fun. So there are things that then they want to say who the better Mac than the other one. So they going to engage a little bit, but we make it that way so that they feel comfortable to talk.
Right.
And then, like I said, and then I think it also helps that they have their men's room where Glenn gets, this is Coach Glenn with the men. They in the locker room. Right. And they going to talk there.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so
So
listen, y'all are watching Real Talk with Ellasin. I got my honey, my other hoe, Eric. We got the two hoes over there, Glenn and Sheri Brooks, of the M.A.P.S community, marriage and parenting successfully. Glenn, I'm coming to you with a question. But Glenn, I got to first say this. I'm so proud of our turtles.
Me too. You see me just being quiet.
I done grown up,
listen,
Ellasin.
I just sit and marvel, and
yes,
Eric growing up too. We growing up, Eric.
I love it.
Yeah, we doing good, Sheri.
Yeah, so we growing up.
So, Glenn, what is your EQ matters more than your IQ?
So one of the things that I kind of want to break down, and I'm going to digress just a little bit. So just because I got a feeling that some people in the audience are like, why are they talking about animals like turtles and things?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Glenn.
So let me speak to that real quick. So one of the many things that I get to do as a relationship coach, of both on the personal development and the professional development space is that I'm a certified DISC trainer. For those who've never taken the DISC personality assessment, you have the D, the I, the S, the C. The D is the part of your temperament where you make decisions. The I is the part of your temperament that's influential. That's the social part of your temperament. The S is the supportive part or the stabilizing part of your temperament. That's the part of you that kind of cares for things and people and environments. The C is the cautious or the calculated part of your temperament, the analytical part of your temperament. So when you're a high C, you're generally highly analytical. You're an introvert. You don't talk much. Same way with an S, but you're more detailed. The difference between the C and the S is that the C is more of a results-oriented introvert. The S is a relationship-oriented introvert. And then, of course, you move down the ladder to the I and the D. And the I is the social butterfly. That is the talker in the room. That's the one that look, don't threaten them with a good time. They bring in the party. They don't need no help. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you find anybody is listening, if you find yourself on the spectrum, but put it in the chat which one you think you are. And then, of course, the D is the strong and wrong one. That's the one that don't need no whole bunch of information. They want bottom line it. They're the ones that's going to jump out of perfectly good flying aircraft without any parachute. We'll build that on the way down because we need to make some things happen. So, so when Ellasin talks about our turtles, it's just so happens that Ellasin and I are both high I's. We call the I the flamingo.
Yes.
The D is called the lion. I have a ton of D in me as well.
Yes.
But my primary animal is a flamingo, and I am the party starter. This one right here is primarily, she's a chameleon and then turtle. And the truth of the matter is she's introverted more so than I am, obviously. Yeah. But as a result, introverts generally don't like to talk or be the talking head. So when we say that these two, which Eric is also a high turtle, you know, yeah, both he and Sheri are built from the same temperament. Yeah, well, they have, but it's never going to make you a complete extrovert. But the deal is that she's learned how to channel her flamingo, and so her flamingo has grown over the years, which is why she's all excited and talking, and I'm excited to let her and just back up. But yeah, that's that. So I wanted to give a quick explanation as to what that was so that people would not feel lost. But real quick, when we talk EQ versus IQ, many of us have heard of IQ. It's your intelligence quotient, right? It's how you perceive numbers, facts, figures. It's your aptitude, your scholastic ability to get something done. EQ is the opposite of that in many ways. It is your emotional quotient. This is how you feel your way through things. This is where your perceptions are heightened or not. This is where you can read between the lines better than others and things like that. So your EQ matters more than your IQ in relationships because relationships are organic in nature.
Yeah.
They are not things that you can just figure out with an equation.
Right.
And so you can know the right thing to do, be self-aware, but not know how to do it and have low self-management. And therefore your EQ score will drop because your self-management scores are low. Or you can be high on social awareness. You pick up on social cues. You pick that up. You can tell when the vibe of the room just changed. But your relationship quotient at that particular point might be a little bit low because at this point you don't know how to have a conversation with people without pissing them off.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So all of those kind of form what we call your emotional intelligence.
Right.
And I think that when you have high emotional intelligence in a relationship, you're always on a winning track. When your emotional intelligence is low, I promise you, you're having a tough time. And we teach and train people how to boost those scores.
Right. And you can find, y'all can get all of this from Coach Sheri and Glenn in the M.A.P.S community, marriage and parenting successfully. They rock, y'all. I'm telling you what I know. We know them. We spend some time with them. Look, we even stayed the night together. We know that. So
we know each other. You know what I mean?
So Glenn, talking about broken, right? Because some people feel like, well, we're broken. Two people are broken. We're coming together. But But how important is it for us to mend broken fences?
Yeah.
How important is it for us to mend the brokenness?
Well, it's incredibly important. I'm gonna let Sheri kind of take this one, but one of the things I'm gonna set this up by saying this: most of us did not know or learn how to develop healthy boundaries.
Yes.
And so when we talk about
Boundaries.
broken fences or mending broken fences, the broken fence is a boundary that's been crossed. And it's a boundary in your relationship that either A, was never erected properly, or B, it's not managed properly. And so one of the things that we specialize in is helping people identify the breach, where it's broken, and figuring out how to be able to mend it, because fundamentally boundaries are designed to do two things. One, it protects. Two, it provides. It protects you from all the bad stuff, but it provides you freedom to be able to explore the relationship in a healthy way.
Right. Should we talk to that more? But let me ask you this. If I'm newly married, right? Not to say that the older folks can't set boundaries, but how important is it to establish boundaries early on in a relationship?
It's essential that you start off setting boundaries. And so when we talk about boundaries, first I want to just dispel some myths. So boundaries are not me literally creating a wall that's going to keep you out.
That's right.
A boundary is not, number one, a boundary is not for you. You, where's the camera? You. The boundary is for me. So the boundary is, so if a boundary, I'll give you an example. So when we got married, Glenn is a very passionate person, as you guys can probably tell. So when he gets excited, his voice elevates. He has all this energy and all this.
That's my brother.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
And so
they call that doing too much. They call that he's doing too much.
And so early on in our relationship, I had to set a boundary. It was like, I don't mind you coming to me and sharing what you need to talk about, but you're gonna have to bring it down 50 decibels, because for me, when your voice goes here, number one, it sounds like you're yelling. It sounds like you're fussing at me, and I shut down because I can't hear you. I set that boundary to protect me, because it took his elevated voice was doing something to me emotionally, and it was touching a place in me that it hurt.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you can't talk to me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying when you can talk to me, but I'm saying when you do talk to me, my boundary is that I need you to be calm. I need you to come to me. You can be excited, but it can't be on 10.
Right.
You got to bring it down to like 6.5. Okay. If you want me to hear you. Now, if you're not concerned about me hearing you, you can yell and scream or whatever all day long. And just know that I'm going to be sitting there, but the store is closed.
I'm not present.
I'm not here at all.
Yes, that's good.
And that for us also has saved us from having a lot of arguments, because he's passionate. He would be the one that wants to argue about issues. I don't argue.
That's right.
It serves no purpose. It doesn't resolve anything. I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you. We're not going back and forth.
I'm gonna need you not to be doing.
We're not going back and forth. We're not doing all that.
I'm gonna need you.
Listen.
That's starting to trigger me over. Like, wait a minute. Do we need to fight? Like, what's happening?
We're not doing all that. And so that was another boundary that I set. Because I set that boundary, it also limited us from getting into a lot of heated debate. In the 23, almost 24 years we've been married, we may have had 6 real heated arguments.
Yeah, that's good.
Where,
I think we had 6.
We're not calling each other the name our parents gave us
in the first week.
but it's because of a boundary that I set early in our relationship. I didn't know that the end result of that was going to be that we wouldn't argue.
Yeah.
I just knew that was a way of, I had to protect a part of me, because it was triggering something in me. It was hurtful when he would come at me that way, and he'd be like, well, I'm just excited. I was like, I understand all that, but no, that's not how that sounds to me.
Yeah. If I can add real quick and just kind of interject, one of the things that I need people to understand is that when you put up a boundary, what you're saying is that I love you, but I love me more.
Yes,
that's right.
I love you, but I can't exist in this situation unless something changes. And here's what I'm not going to do. This is me. This is not you. I'm not asking you to change. What I am saying is that if you insist on going there, here is what I'm going to do. See, the other thing that comes with boundaries is when you cross them, there are consequences.
Yes,
that's right.
And so the consequence of me not turning the volume from 10 to 6 will be that she shuts down, will be that she doesn't listen. The consequence may be her saying, you know what?
I'm leaving.
I am going to leave the room. I'm not going to leave the house, but I'm going in my bedroom because while you're on 10, I can't hear you and it scares me.
Right.
And so in order for me not to feel that kind of threat at this particular point, I'm going to remove myself. I'm not asking you to be quiet. I'm not asking you to stop yelling. I'm not asking you to change. I'm telling you that the boundary says that beware of the dog. If you jump the fence anyway,
you're going to get bit.
You might get bit.
It's important to respect the boundary.
So rather than jump over the fence and bite you, I'm going to go put the dog up and we going in the house. And when you feel like you want to calm down and get yourself together, we can all come out and play.
Yes.
And that's what boundaries look like.
Yeah, that's good.
Boundaries and respect go hand in hand. I have
100%.
got to respect my
100%.
partner's boundary. I have got to respect my partner. And sometimes I feel like if we set a boundary and if we don't have the consequence with the boundary, we're now teaching the person that my boundary is not important and you can keep hopping the fence when you want to.
Right. And that's so key because you have to remember you teach people how to treat you by what you allow them to do.
All the time.
By what you allow them to do. If you allow somebody to keep busting you upside your head and you don't say nothing, or you don't leave, or you don't call the authorities, or you don't do something, they're going to keep doing it because your lack of response is telling them it's okay. Yeah. And that's one thing that I stress to women, especially with men, because men typically, this is a man thing in one sense, that men respond to consequences. Number one, that is the best way to get them to respond to anything. There has to be a consequence, because if I just tell you, oh, stop doing that, and then don't nothing happen, they're gonna do it again.
Right.
So, but with men, you have to institute consequences, but the consequence has to match the offense. Yeah, it has to be relatable to the boundary. My consequence for the kids coming in the bathroom, if I'm in the bathroom and they just busting through the door, is not me now locking them in the basement.
Right. Come on now.
The consequence is when I go in the bathroom, I'm going to lock the door. So now you can't come in.
That's right.
That's my boundary. I'm going to just lock the door.
That's good.
It's not, I'm not going to feed y'all for a week. It's not, but people will go to the extreme with the consequence because they I'm going to get this point made. No. The consequence has to match. Right. You want to prove a point or have peace.
Right.
That's right.
And the goal is to have peace, but you get to institute a level of a consequence so that they be like, oh, there's really a boundary here.
So in essence, and I know we running on time, but Ellasin, I want people to think that the consequence of the boundary should cost the person more than it costs you.
Right. That's right.
So that's at the end of the day, I want my wife to talk to me. At the end of the day, I want her to hear me. I want her to understand me, right? And so because of that, I don't want her to shut down. I don't want her to leave and go into the next room. So because it's costing me when she does that. So what do I going to do? Listen, and she taught me this earlier on. I don't care how you talk to everybody else, but with me, there's a button that you turn, and you need to back it off 10.
Yes.
And there are times where I've learned to see when she's glassed over, when she's glossed over.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm too loud, ain't it? She was like, and then Eric, didn't they give you that look that looked like you boo-boo the food tomorrow?
Yeah.
I like that you said that, because our partners should not be they, them, and everybody. They should not be in that category.
No.
And I like that. Listen, you guys are watching Real Talk with Ellasin. We're here with Glenn and Sheri from M.A.P.S, Marriaging and Parenting Successfully. Listen, y'all go on their site, sign up, whatever y'all got to do. They the truth, y'all. We wouldn't have them here if they wasn't. So I just appreciate you guys, and I want to talk about this one last thing before we go, and then I want you guys to talk a little bit about M.A.P.S, more about M.A.P.S, and then leave a nugget. But the journey from dysfunction to function. What do you mean by that? The journey from dysfunction to function. Because I've been in this daggone relationship for 20 years and it's been dysfunctional.
Well, let me set that up real quick, and Sheri, you can jump in. I think that first of all, you have to recognize what does functional look like for you. What do you call functionality, right?
Yeah.
What is healthy for you? What place would you like to see yourself get to? Once you establish what functionalism is, let's say, for instance, functionalism for you is that we're not in here screaming and hollering, fussing and arguing with each other, that we can communicate clearly. That I would consider functional. Well, dysfunctional is the opposite, right? So the question is when we say that, there is a work that you're going to need to do to get to functional. And I need people to understand that functionalism just doesn't happen because you want it to.
Yeah.
It's a work that it takes in order to do it. Okay, so let's think about this as an engine. If the engine in your car is dysfunctioning, that means it's not working. You have to take that engine to someone who knows something about that engine so that they can repair it to the place that it gets functional again. So when we talk about doing your work, you're going to have to identify as what does the work look like for me to be able to get that expected outcome and then go do it. Is that a book I need to read? Is that a class I need to go to? Is that a counselor I need to talk to? Do I need to go to therapy? Do I need a coach? Do I need a community that can help me see my blinds? What do I need to get there? And then here's the other part. When you do that work, what it does is it shows you what's possible.
Yes.
Because I think that that's the part where, quite frankly, it encourages you to keep going. Everybody needs hope. The reason why dysfunctionalism lives is because the relationship is hopeless. You have somehow regulated in your mind that this is just it. This is the best it's going to ever get. And I might as well just handle it. It is what it is. And I'm just going to ride it on out. Well, I think that's a miserable life. And quite frankly, I think it's beneath your privilege. I think that there's better and there's more. So that's just my take on it. Sheri, you got anything you want to add?
Right. And I think one thing I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. I think when you look at dysfunction, everybody's idea of what's functional and dysfunctional is different. What's functional for your marriage may be dysfunctional for somebody else's.
Yeah.
But you have to look at your relationship and see what is not working.
That's right.
What's not working is the fact that, I'm hiding money over here and we ain't able to pay the bills. That ain't working. That might be dysfunctional for you guys.
Right.
Is the fact that, we're a blended family, but you talking about this my child and this my child and this my child.
Ooh, that's good.
But that's not working because there's disharmony in the house.
That's right.
So that's obviously not working.
Yes.
So you have to evaluate, you have to step back and look at your relationship and see what's not working for us.
That's good.
Yeah.
And once you recognize that and identify, those are the dysfunctional areas that now you have to say, okay, so do we want to stay in this mess in this area? And it could be one area in your relationship. It doesn't mean your whole relationship is dysfunctional. There can be one area that you realize this is not working. So let's change that one area.
Right. I think that's how important is self-awareness, because I need to find out if I'm the core of this dysfunction.
And that part right there. And that's one of the biggest things when people come to us, they come in the community, don't point the finger at the other person. I need you to point your finger at you. Yes. I don't want to hear what he did. I don't want to hear what she did. What did you do?
And the reason why we say that, y'all, because you can't change people.
Nope.
I need fundamentally, I need y'all to understand that it doesn't do the relationship any good for you to focus on that person changing.
Trying to change them. You can change your responses.
You can't change them. And the only thing you can do is you can change yourself. And then when you change, typically what happens, people change in relation to you.
Yes.
And so if I go hard in the paint on me, I'm going to create this thing in you that says, wait a minute. you ain't going back and forth with me like you used to. What's going on with you?
And let me just clarify that, because I've had people say this to me. So you're saying if I change me, he's going to change? No, that's not what I said.
No.
I said, if you change, he's going to change in relation to you. That means that what used to work, the buttons he used to could push or she used to could push, they're not going to work no more. So they're going to have to find a new way to communicate with you. And if they see that all the buttons they pushing not working no more, they can be like, hold up, something's different.
Right.
So
yeah, you know,
are you okay? It's
yeah, you know, you said something about the dysfunction part of the relationship and how we have to determine what's dysfunctional for us. Because I think sometimes we don't realize what we're doing is dysfunctional because we were raised in a dysfunctional family. And so it's like, well, this is what we did at my house. Okay, well, that might, even if it's dysfunctional, it might be normal to you, but that doesn't work here. And so we have that part you said about identifying what's dysfunctional for your marriage is important. Because if it's dysfunctional for us, it don't matter if it worked at your mom and your daddy's house.
Right.
We can't do that here if we're going to stay together.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's like, even like I talked about my parents, they've been married now for almost 60 years. They're still together. They're roommates. But I knew I did not want that type of marriage. That was dysfunctional to me. I don't want a roommate for life. I wanted somebody that I was going to have a real relationship with. And I mean, and they're perfectly happy and it works for them. But I knew that was dysfunctional for me. I didn't want that. I wanted something more than that. I believed that there was something more than that out there. And I've been able to achieve that. But like you said, when you grow up in dysfunction, and most of us, if we're honest, we grew up in some form of dysfunction.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is that we have to be willing to be the one that breaks those generational curses.
That's right. That's right.
You can't just keep doing what everybody did when you know it wasn't working, but you're going to just do it because that's what everybody did anyway.
Absolutely.
Right. Come on now. You don't want to do the work.
Right.
You want to stay right here in your dysfunctional comfort.
Listen, the M.A.P.S community in there chiming in. I see you, Latondra. She said, amen, Coach Sheri. If you're in the M.A.P.S Relationship Academy or you connected to us on any level, put hashtag M.A.P.S Rocks in the chat. Y'all share this out to somebody.
They've been doing it.
And let them know that this ain't just us. Like, this is a real thing with real people. This weekend, we're going to have a cookout. Over 60 people have registered and coming and flying in from all over the country to pull up, to meet up, and to love on each other. We're going to actually do a wedding. A vow renewal, 10-year vow renewal, because this couple said, that's our family.
Yeah.
And we want to do this again in front of those who are helping us do it again.
Amen.
Helping us live life different. Like, that's powerful, y'all.
Yes.
So if you are in this community and you're listening to this broadcast, whether it's a replay or you're listening live, I just want to encourage you that better is available.
Yes.
You have to want to do the work, but I can guarantee you there are some communities out here, ours being one of them, that will absolutely help you change the narrative of what you see. It is going to take work. And here's, I will submit this, even for my people who are in relationships where you feel like you're the only one pulling the weight. I'm going to encourage you, before you just throw this thing away, I want you to consider a couple things. One, and this can serve as your takeaway or as your nugget, Ellasin, because I know we're up against time. I want you to consider this. What is it worth to you to do the work in order to make this thing work? What is the value of the relationship? Identify that. Because if you believe that the value of that relationship is here, then you should also commit to the work to get what it is. Toss it because they really don't want to do the work for it, not because it wasn't valuable or worth it. And if that's you, I'm just going to encourage you that it's possible. And at the end of the day, you can't get to any place of significance by yourself, because we all need some help.
Yeah, we all need some help. And Glenn, we froze. Something happened there for a minute, so we kind of missed what you said. So can you just, because it's powerful, and he's scrolling it, and I want people to know that you guys, y'all are real. It's not a gimmick. It's not, a money thing. You guys are really helping helping marriages. You know what I'm saying? You guys are really helping people. But the reason why y'all are helping people is because they are showing up wanting
the help.
That part.
Ready to do the work. Yeah.
Right. So share with us again.
I think that you just hit the nail, and that's a great recap, Ellasin, because this doesn't work if you don't work it. As a coach, and she and I both are coaches, we can't make you or will you to win. If you think about a sports franchise or a sports team, you often talk about or hear about that, it don't take skill to hustle. In other words, when you play defense is all about just putting in hard work and wanting to do the work. And a lot of times what most people want to do, they just want to score the ball. They just want to have good times. They just want to run up the score. They just want to have a bunch of excitement. They want to do the flash and all that. Nobody wants to do the dirty work of doing what needs to be done to get in the trenches to ensure that we do get this win. Because sometimes a win is about a stop. A win is not about always scoring. A win is about stopping the avalanche of the bad stuff coming down this hill. And I think that if you're willing to get in those trenches and do that work, I can tell you there's a group of people called the Marriages and Parenting Successfully Relationship Academy who is doing that work and will do that work with you. So you're not the only one. And that's the part I think that makes the difference for us, Ellasin, even when we send our folks to counseling. Yeah. We're the coaches that get on the team with the counselor or the therapist. Right. Okay, so what is your therapist telling you? So what are they suggesting? Okay, so you taking your medication? Okay, great. So you're managing your. Okay, so here, let's put some strategy to what they're saying, and let's walk this out, and let's work this out. And I think that when you get those things happening at the same time, I think winning is a byproduct.
Right, and if I can just add one last piece, and the thing is, the work is not about. And this is going to sound contradictory in one sense. The work you're doing is for you. As Glenn said earlier, you can't change another person. And I often encourage, and we've unfortunately had some couples that have come in and it didn't work out. But I encourage them to, if this ends, know that you did everything that you could in your power to make it work. That you worked on yourself and changed yourself. And grown as an individual so that you could be the best version of you, if not for this relationship, maybe for another in the future, but you've done your part.
Yeah. That is good. I think everything y'all said is powerful. I applaud you guys because, marriages right now, especially in my line of work, I hear so much about people don't even look at the Institute of Marriage anymore. And it means nothing anymore. No kind of commitment. M.A.P.S, what you guys are doing in Marriage and Parenting Successfully, it takes a commitment. We have to show up with the want to. We have to be committed to do the work, and we have to be committed to writing our goals out. What does that look like? How does that look like to get there? And it also looks like I can't do this by myself because why? We all need some help.
If you guys can see the information scrolling on the bottom of the screen, you can go ahead and go onto the M.A.P.S website there. We also put it in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. So you can go into the description box and click on the link so you can go check them out on the M.A.P.S website.
Yes. Glenn and Sheri family. Hey, it was good having you guys on.
I'm proud of y'all. I love this.
Talk for another hour, but that's just,
I love this format. Y'all are killing it. You're killing it. Y'all doing a great job.
We're grateful for you guys. We appreciate you guys. I pray that God continues to bless you guys because what you're doing is not selfish at all. At all. It is God. God is the one that instituted marriage, and you guys are upholding that. You're holding it from the godly perspective. You meeting the people where they are. Where they are. Right. And I just appreciate that and keep on doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for blessing us here on Real Talk. Listen, guys, you have been watching Real Talk with Ellasin with Glenn and Sheri, books of M.A.P.S Community, Marriage and Parenting Successfully. Real Talk with Ellasin has taken over marriage for the month of July. First, it was me and my honey. Then we had Glenn and Sheri. Next, we're going to have Kim and Ricardo Frost coming up on next Thursday at 7 p.m. So I ask you now, just go ahead and subscribe, whether it's to YouTube, click like on on Facebook, M.A.P.S community. You guys rock. Thanks for supporting y'all coaches. God bless each and every one of you guys. Take care. See you next